Now, somebody told me the other day, they said, Jim, I'm just not a disciplined person, like it was written in stone, like they were born that way. And I said, well, let me ask you something. Were you born knowing how to walk? Were you born knowing how to talk? No, you learned. And discipline is no different. See, that's where people miss it. They think discipline is something you're born with. Like you come out of the hospital and the doctor looks at your mom and says, congratulations, it's a boy. And the good news is he's naturally disciplined. That doesn't happen. That never happens. Because discipline is not a personality trait. Discipline is a decision. And more than that, it's a daily decision. Jot this down. Discipline is learned, not inherited. I want you to think about something for a minute. When you were a little kid, did your parents have to force you to brush your teeth? Sure they did. Did they have to remind you? Absolutely. Did you wake up one morning with this burning desire to brush your teeth? No. But somewhere along the way, brushing your teeth became automatic. It became a habit. It became part of who you are. And you know what got you there? Repetition, practice, discipline. That's the thing about discipline that most people don't understand. They think discipline is this rare quality that some people have, and most people don't. They look at a successful person and they say, well, they must be one of those naturally disciplined people. But I'm telling you, I've never met a naturally disciplined person in my life. What I've met are people who decided one day that they were going to be disciplined. And then they did it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. That's all discipline is. It's not some magical quality. It's not something you inherit from your parents. It's a decision repeated until it becomes a habit. Here's the key to the whole thing. Discipline is not something you find. Discipline is something you build, like building a muscle. You don't go to the gym one time and come out looking like Mr. Universe. You go back again and again. You lift, you strain, you struggle, you feel the burn. You feel like quitting. But you don't quit. You go back the next day and the day after that. But somewhere along the way, something changes. The muscle gets bigger. It gets stronger. It gets more capable. The work gets easier because the muscle is more developed. Same thing with discipline. You work at it, it's hard, really hard. You don't feel like doing it. Your mind is giving you 1,000 reasons why you should skip it today. But you do it anyway. And then you wake up the next day and you do it again. It's tough at first. It feels like you're fighting against yourself. But somewhere along the way, the resistance decreases. It becomes easier. It becomes more natural. The muscle gets stronger. The discipline gets stronger. And before long, you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're just doing it because that's who you've become. When I was just starting out, I was broke. I mean, really broke. I didn't have much of anything except dreams and a willingness to listen to someone who knew more than I did. And that someone was my mentor, Mr. Shoaf. This man taught me more about success and about life than anybody I've ever known. I used to visit him in his office, and he would just sit there and drop these gems of wisdom on me. And one of the first things he taught me was this: discipline is the difference between wanting something and having something. He said, Jim, you can want to be healthy, but unless you have the discipline to eat right, the discipline to exercise, the discipline to get proper sleep, the discipline to say no to the things that are bad for you, you won't be healthy. You can want to be rich, but unless you have the discipline to be careful with money, the discipline to learn about investing, the discipline to work when you don't feel like it, the discipline to keep learning, you won't be rich. Wanting is easy. Everybody wants something. Rich people want things. Poor people want things. The only difference is discipline. It's the discipline that separates the dreamers from the achievers. It's the discipline that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. And I thought about that. I really thought about that. I went home and I couldn't sleep that night because those words were ringing in my ears. Discipline is the difference between wanting something and having something. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's the whole game. See, Mr. Shoaf showed me something that changed my entire life. He showed me that discipline is not about being hard on yourself. It's not about punishment. It's not about suffering. It's not about deprivation. Discipline is actually about freedom. Let me say that again because it's important and I want you to really hear it. Discipline is about freedom. When you have discipline, you have choices. When you don't have discipline, life makes the choices for you. When you have the discipline to get up early, you get to choose how you spend your morning. You get to choose what you create. You get to choose what you build. You get to choose what you accomplish before the day even starts. When you don't have that discipline, your alarm clock chooses for you. Your circumstances choose for you. Your bad habits choose for you. You're reactive instead of proactive. You're responding to life instead of creating it. I worked at Sears for a while, and I remember watching the managers. And it struck me that the managers who had the most discipline were also the ones with the most freedom. The guys who disciplined themselves to show up on time, to work hard, to learn the business, to take care of customers, to develop themselves, those guys got promoted. They got better opportunities. They got raises. They got more money. They had more choices. They could choose which shifts they wanted. They could choose their own hours eventually. They could choose their trajectory. And the guys who didn't have discipline, they stayed where they were, or they got fired. Or they bounced around from job to job, wondering why they weren't getting ahead. Because discipline isn't just about you. It's about what discipline gives you. It gives you power. Real power. The power to shape your life. The power to create your future. The power to become who you want to become. Now, I'm going to tell you something that might sound strange, but I want you to listen carefully because this is the heart of the whole thing. The most important thing about discipline is the daily decision, not the yearly decision, not the monthly decision, not even the weekly decision, the daily decision. Because here's the thing about being human. You wake up every single day and you have to choose. You choose to get up or you choose to stay in bed. You choose to work hard or you choose to coast. You choose to eat well or you choose to eat junk. You choose to be kind or you choose to be mean. You choose to learn or you choose to stay ignorant. You choose to invest in yourself or you choose to stay the same. Every single day, every single morning. 1,000 choices, and discipline is the skill of making the right choice every day. Not sometimes, not when you feel like it, not when it's convenient, every day. Because discipline isn't what you do on Mondays. Discipline is what you do on Tuesday when nobody's watching. Discipline is what you do on Wednesday when you're tired. Discipline is what you do on Thursday when you want to quit. Discipline is what you do on Friday when you're at a party and everyone's drinking and eating junk and you're thinking about your goals. Discipline is what you do on Saturday and Sunday when you don't have to do anything. That's when discipline shows up. That's when discipline counts. Think about it. If you only had to choose once to be disciplined, that would be easy. You just decide one time and boom, you're done. You're disciplined for life. Problem solved. But that's not how it works. That's not how the human mind works. That's not how the world works. Because the world tests you. It tests you every single day. Life comes at you with temptation and fatigue and doubt and discouragement and distractions. Your friends are calling. Your family wants your attention. Your body is tired. Your mind is restless. And if you only decided once, you wouldn't make it. You'd cave. You'd give in. You'd compromise. But if you decide every day, if you wake up and you say, today I'm going to be disciplined. Today I'm going to do the things that are hard. Today I'm going to keep my promises to myself. Today I'm not going to negotiate with myself. Today I'm going to follow through. If you make that decision, really make it. Not just think about it, but actually commit to it, then something changes. You build momentum. You build confidence. You build character. You build the kind of person who keeps their word, not to others, but to themselves. And that's the person who changes the world. Here's what I learned from my own journey. When I was broke and starting out, I didn't just need to make one good decision. I needed to make hundreds of good decisions. Thousands of them every single day. I needed to decide to wake up early even when I was tired. I needed to decide to read books even when I wanted to watch TV. I needed to decide to practice my sales pitch even when I wanted to give up. I needed to decide to smile at customers even when I was having a bad day. I needed to decide to be better today than I was yesterday. And every single time I made the hard choice, something shifted inside me. A little bit more discipline, a little bit more strength, a little bit more power, a little bit more confidence that I could do hard things. And before long, I wasn't the same person anymore. Jot this down. Discipline is like an interest-bearing account. The more you put in, the more it grows, and the growth accelerates. One of the big mistakes people make is thinking discipline needs to be dramatic. They think they need to make some big change, some massive turning point, some Hollywood moment where they quit everything and start over and transform overnight. But that's not usually how it works. That's the fantasy. Discipline is built in small moments, in tiny decisions, in the choice to do 10 more minutes of work when you want to stop, in the choice to say no to one more cookie when you're hungry, in the choice to wake up 15 minutes earlier, in the choice to read one more chapter before bed, in the choice to be kind when you feel irritated. These small choices don't seem like much in the moment, but they compound, they add up. Over weeks and months and years, these small daily decisions create enormous results. And here's the beautiful part. When you get disciplined in one area, it spills over into everything else. I've seen it 1,000 times. A person starts disciplining themselves to exercise. They start getting up at 5 in the morning. They start pushing themselves. They start keeping their promise to themselves. And then something interesting happens. That same person suddenly starts being more disciplined with their money. They start reading more. They start keeping their word to other people. They start cleaning their house. They start being more organized at work. They start having better relationships. Why? Because discipline is a skill. It's a muscle. And when you exercise it in one place, it gets stronger everywhere. It's not specific to the gym. It's not specific to money. It's a general strengthening of your character. Your ability to do hard things, your ability to keep commitments, your ability to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. I remember when I made a health scare for myself years ago. I wasn't taking care of my body. I was eating poorly. I was eating fast food. I was eating junk. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't sleeping right. I was stressed all the time. My energy was gone. And one day I looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw, not just physically, spiritually. I looked at myself and I said, is this who you really are? Is this the best you've got? Is this the example you're setting? Is this how you want to live? And something inside me said, no, absolutely not. Not anymore. So I made a decision. Not a New Year's resolution. Not some fleeting wish. A real decision. I said, starting tomorrow, I'm going to get disciplined about my health. I'm going to treat my body like it matters, because it does. And I did. I got up early and I exercised. I cleaned up my eating. I started saying no to things that were bad for me. And you know what? Within 6 months, I felt like a new person. My energy came back. My mind was clearer. My mood was better. But here's the real thing. Within 6 months, my entire life had changed. My business was better because I had more energy and more focus. My relationships were better because I had more patience and more presence. My mind was clearer because I was taking better care of my body. I was more creative. I was more productive. I was more myself. All of that came from one decision, repeated daily. One decision to take care of myself, made every single morning, made when I didn't feel like it, made when I was tired, made when I wanted to sleep in, made when I wanted to eat junk. That's discipline. That's the power of it. See, discipline is the great teacher. When you practice discipline, you learn something about yourself. You learn that you're capable of doing hard things. You learn that you can do things you don't want to do. You learn that you can keep promises to yourself. You learn that you can change. You learn that you're not a victim of your circumstances. You learn that you have power. And once you know that, everything shifts, because now you're not limited anymore. You're not trapped by your circumstances. You're not bound by your past. You're not bound by what happened to you. You're free to become whoever you decide to become. And that's the other thing about discipline that people miss. It's not oppressive. It's liberating. When you have discipline, you have power. When you have power, you have choices. When you have choices, you have freedom. Real freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom through responsibility. The freedom that comes from knowing you can do hard things. From knowing you can keep your word. From knowing you can create change in your life. Let me tell you about something I call the dignity of choice. This is important. There are people in this world who feel like victims. They feel like life happened to them, like they didn't have any choice in where they are, like they're stuck. And maybe some of that's true. Maybe you were born into circumstances that weren't ideal. Maybe you got some bad breaks. Maybe you went through some hard stuff. I understand that. I've been there. I know what it's like to struggle. But here's what I know. You have more choice than you think. And discipline is how you exercise that choice. Every single morning, when you wake up, you have the dignity of a choice. You can choose to be the kind of person who keeps their promises or breaks them. You can choose to be someone who learns or someone who stays stuck. You can choose to be someone who gives up or someone who perseveres. You can choose to be kind or cruel. You can choose to grow or stagnate. That choice is yours. That dignity is yours, and nobody can take it away from you, no matter what's happened to you. No matter what your circumstances are, no matter who told you that you couldn't do something, you have the choice, and that choice is sacred. And when you understand that, when you really get that in your bones, when you really feel it in your heart, everything changes, because now you're not a victim of circumstances. You're the architect of your own life, and discipline is the tool you use to build it. Discipline is the hammer. Discipline is the blueprint. Discipline is what turns potential into reality. Here's something practical. Jot this down. Start small. Don't try to change everything at once. That's a recipe for failure. People try to overhaul their entire life and it lasts 2 weeks and then they give up. Don't do that. Pick one thing, one area where you're going to get disciplined. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's reading more. Maybe it's being kinder. Maybe it's saving money. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's eating better. Just pick one thing and then do it every single day for 30 days, just 30 days. Because here's what happens in 30 days. You start to see results, small results, but real results. And when you see results, motivation follows. Now, a lot of people think motivation comes first. They think you get motivated and then you get disciplined. But that's backwards. That's completely backwards. Discipline comes first. You do the thing even when you don't feel like it. You do the thing even when it's hard. You do the thing when nobody's watching. And then motivation follows. Motivation is a result of discipline, not a prerequisite for it. Most people have it backwards. I've met a lot of successful people in my life. And you know what they all have in common? They don't talk about how they feel like doing something. They don't make excuses. They just do it. They have discipline. They've made it a daily practice. They've built it into their character. It's not something they think about. It's just who they are. And because they have that discipline, they accomplish things that most people only dream about. Think about the person you want to become. Really think about it. What does that person look like? What do they do? How do they spend their time? What kind of habits do they have? What kind of character do they have? Are they someone who follows through? Are they someone who keeps their word? Are they someone who's constantly learning and growing? Are they healthy? Are they successful? Are they at peace? And now ask yourself, what's the gap between where I am and where I want to be? And the answer is almost always discipline. That's the gap. That's the bridge between the person you are and the person you want to become. It's not luck. It's not luck. I know people say that. Oh, they just got lucky. But that's not how the world works. It's not connections. It's not talent. Those things help. But at the core, it's discipline. It's the willingness to do what's hard. It's the willingness to do what's unpopular. It's the willingness to do what's unglamorous. It's the willingness to do the work when nobody's watching. It's the willingness to sacrifice today for tomorrow. Because that's the thing about discipline that the world doesn't advertise. It's not flashy. It's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's boring. It's repetitive. It's unglamorous. You wake up early. You eat your vegetables. You do the work. You keep your word. You stay committed even when you don't feel like it. You show up even when you want to hide. You keep going even when you want to quit. That's not exciting. That's not Instagram worthy. That's not the kind of thing people celebrate. But that's what builds character. That's what builds success. That's what builds a life worth living. That's what builds respect. That's what builds the kind of inner strength that actually matters. And here's what I want you to understand. You're not broken. You're not lacking something. You're not deficient in some way because you struggle with discipline. Everybody does. Even the most successful people in the world struggle with discipline sometimes. The difference is they've decided that discipline is more important than comfort, and they keep making that decision. Every single day, even when it's hard, even when they don't feel like it, even when they want to give up, they keep choosing discipline. So tonight, before you go to bed, I want you to make a decision, a real decision, not a wish, not a hope, not something you're going to think about, a decision. You're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to choose discipline. You're going to pick one thing, one area, one habit. And you're going to commit to it for the next 30 days. You're going to do it even when you don't feel like it. You're going to do it even when it's hard. You're going to do it even when nobody's watching. You're going to keep your promise to yourself. And then the next day, you're going to wake up and make the same decision again. And the day after that, and the day after that. Over and over every single day. That's how you build it. That's how you change. Because here's the promise I want to make to you. If you commit to discipline, if you make it a daily decision, if you build it into your character, if you exercise that muscle over and over again, your life will change. Not overnight, but gradually, steadily, unmistakably. You'll be healthier. You'll be more successful. You'll be happier. You'll be more at peace. You'll be more powerful. You'll be more you. The real you. The you that you know you're capable of being. Discipline is not a personality trait. Discipline is a decision. Make it today. Make it tomorrow. Make it every single day. And watch what happens to your life. Watch what you become. Watch what you achieve. Watch what you create. That's the message. That's the power. That's the path. Discipline. It starts with a decision, and it continues with a choice every single day. Choose well.